I love going out in the garden in the morning when the morning glories are open and they're just like saying hello to me. And then in the evening as well. Outside the fence here we have elderberry bushes, and we planted these in last year. I also planted lots of comfrey roots this year, so you will see, if you can spot them, comfrey popping up everywhere. There's actually 4 plants here by the fence. I have lots outside the fence. I fell in love with comfrey this year. It has so many uses and purposes. It's a dynamic accumulator, a biodynamic accumulator. It has a deep taproot that mines for minerals deep in the ground, pulls it up into its leaves, and so you can use it for chop and drop. When this gets big, I can just grab a bunch of those leaves. 2-3 times a year, I can just completely take those leaves off, drop them under anything that I want a little extra boost. I have tons of mammoth sunflowers. Funny story, I didn't seed any of those this year. Last year I made one of those sunflower circles for the kids, and I did it in mammoth, and I've got some pictures of that I'm sure that Dannon can show you. And what happened was, when it came time to harvest the sunflower seeds, I laid out all of the seeds, the heads, on the ground right where my greenhouse is now. And I said, okay, this Saturday, we're all going to get together as a family, and we're going to sit around these sunflower heads and harvest them, and roast them, it'll be a nice snack. Well, that Saturday came and went, and it didn't happen. And by that time of the year, I was just like, forget it, just let the birds have them. So the birds ate a lot of them, but they didn't eat them all. I started getting all of these sunflowers popping up. At first I thought maybe they were pumpkins. I didn't realize what they were, but they were all sunflowers. So I couldn't waste sunflowers, so I just transplanted them everywhere. So there will be mammoth sunflowers coming up everywhere. This is one of our potato beds. We have 3. You can see the other 2 over there in the corner with the hose in between them. The top ones there are mostly Yukon Gold, and then I have some, I believe, Adirondack Blue in this bed, and then a little bit more of the Adirondack Blue, and then a bunch of just leftover small baby potatoes and some fingerlings that I had grown last year, and they were just like sitting at the bottom of the tote, weren't really worth eating, and I thought, what the heck, I'll just try planting them and see if they came up. They have gotten huge, if you can't see. They're all determinate, so they should be done in another week or 2. The difference between indeterminate and determinate potatoes, much like tomatoes, which they're both in the nightshade family, is determinates, they get a certain size, they produce a certain amount of potatoes, a whole bunch at once at the end, and then they're done. And they tend to have a little bit shorter season. Indeterminates are the ones that you often see people using these practices where they keep on hilling up, and they will produce potatoes all up the layers as you hill up. So you have the potential to get a lot more potatoes with indeterminate, but it does have a bit of a longer season. I plan on growing a lot more potatoes in the future. We eat quite a few. They're a calorie-dense food, so when it comes to self-sufficiency, they are one of those things that are easy to grow. If you have space, you should grow. If you eat potatoes, grow them. And there is nothing like fresh potatoes. The next bed is my carrot bed. It does have some radishes mixed in. I decided to try this method of interplanting with radish and carrots. Well, I do not recommend this method. The radishes went all over the place, and it made it impossible to weed. Most beds I mulch, so I don't have to do a lot of weeding. We do deep mulch method, but the carrot bed I couldn't do that because of these radishes all over the place. So this bed looks a mess. Now there are some weeds that I really appreciate in the garden, so I won't pull them when I see them. One of them is lamb's quarters. Right here's a lamb's quarters. I'm letting it go and I just snack on it. It's so good for you. This is our peach tree. We planted this last year. I pruned it really good this year. I don't know if you'd call it really good pruning, but I pruned a lot off of it. I've been learning pruning methods. Well, I've been learning it for a couple years, and this year I've really been focusing a lot of study on it because we planted a lot more fruit trees. Got some comfrey underneath it to feed it as it goes. And this is a little herb garden. And this here's our grape trellis. My husband put this together last year, and then we had to fix it, and then I just stained it recently. We have a Concord grape on this side that's thriving pretty well. It's finally grabbing a hold there of the trellis to go up. And then we have a seedless white grape on the other side. I'm a big fan of mushrooms, and is that marble not cool or what? Like, trippy, dude. I love it. There's so many cool ones in here. My dad actually grew up in a house that was built on a marble factory, believe it or not. And so he would find marbles in the ground everywhere and he would collect them. This side of the bed, from pretty much the walkway on, is all an extension that we built this year. We make our beds in lots of different methods. Like I was mentioning, we've been learning permaculture style growing for a few years now, and I can't help but want to like try everything and see how it works. So over on the new side of the garden, you'll see we have a lot of things going on. Right here is our first eucalyptus bed. I got looking into eucalyptus beds, watching videos, reading some articles, and I loved the history of it. Eucalyptus means mound culture or hill culture. It's a practice of forming garden beds that's been practiced apparently for like hundreds of years, particularly in Germany. I have a significant amount of German in me, so I felt like I was kind of honoring that part of my blood by making one. I wish I would have done a video on it. I did take some pictures. Maybe Dana can share those of the process. It was an all-day process, and I did get a little bit of help from my family near the end because I was like determined to finish it, but it was a long day. I dug a big trench here, the size of the bed. It went down about a foot. After we got that trench built out, I put in rotted logs that I had around the property, around the tree line and over in the forest area. And then I stuck, oh gosh, lots and lots of dock leaves. And then I had some compost that wasn't quite finished. It had some big branches in it, and I was just done with it. Like, it was like one of my first composts that I had used wood chips that just weren't small enough. And then I put, oh gosh, I put the soil that I had taken off. I think that's what I did last. The pictures will remind me. The soil that I took off, I amended it a little bit. Had some, I believe, mixed in some well-rotted horse manure, some peat, and the soil, and then topped it all off. And then came back through, cardboarded it to keep the weeds down, heavy, mulched it. And as you can see, it keeps the weeds down very well, keeps the moisture in. Eucalyptus beds basically mimic like the forest floor and how it breaks down over time. What, babe?
It is all hard and stuff.
Oh, the bird bath?
Yeah.
That's my Juniper. And like I mentioned, she loves playing with the marbles in the bird bath here that's in process.
This.
That one.
Oh, where did the other one go?
She's got a bunch of favorites. We garden and live on a hill. I don't know if you can tell to what extent it is a hill here. So everything is slanty because it's not just hill, it's like a lumpy hill. So trying to find any straight lines can be a challenge. It can almost make you dizzy sometimes, but and I planted some cantaloupe. That's what's going on right there. a little cantaloupe that'll eventually take off. A morning glory, I have more cantaloupe, or no, that's either cantaloupe or sugar baby watermelon. There, another morning glory, and then some marigolds. On the hugelkultur bed, I've got some ground cherries that are doing pretty well. They did get a little bit of slug damage, a little bit of flea beetle damage. I did get some diatomaceous earth down once I started seeing that. It helped, but the flea beetles have pretty much gone away. Over here, I have either a zucchini or yellow squash. I planted a bunch of them all along this edging. These here are our beautiful low bush blueberries. I love watching these grow. They're such an ornamental bush. This is our strawberry bed. I think I made this one. I think I made this bed in like a lasagna layering. I did the same thing with that one. Some lasagna layering. And I actually even took some of my like forest floor dirt out in the field where it's just been mulching over the years with pine needles and hay, and I stole some and put them in this bed. These are almost all first year strawberries, so you don't see a lot of strawberries on them. They have been producing a little. A lot of people say to pick off the flowers and any runners the first year. I probably will take the runners off the first year ones, but I have let some fruit. Here's one right here. Mallory gets the next strawberry. We've been going around the family with any strawberries, and it's her turn. That's my oldest. Almost all of these are first year. Most of them are everbearing, so they'll produce all year or all summer long. And then there's about 1/3 of them are June bearing. And 2 or 3 are old plants that I already had that I just stuck in here with them. That's one of them. You can tell because it's huge. We do have some high bush blueberries in here. We have 4 in the garden, and then we made another extension to the garden. And there's 4 more high bush blueberries over there with my first set of overflow tomatoes, which I'll show you. The cool thing is that we bought pairs of blueberry bushes in different kinds that grow in our zone. And some are early berries, like these ones are filled up and ready to turn blue. And we have some of the new ones out there that have berries on them. But then others don't even have flowers yet. So once they really start producing, we will have a bit of berries. So pretty excited about our blueberries. We have big plans of blueberries. We have lots more land to work on.